Real estate is not difficult. It's not hard. It's serving clients with a high level of professionalism, expertise, ethics. It's not difficult, but agents make it so much harder than it has to be because they fail to put those systems in place. And so you can go on 100 listing appointments a year, and
Hmm.
before every single one, the night before, you're scrambling, going, crap, how do I do this again? What do I need to bring? What do I need to prepare? And that's why the burnout in this industry is so real, because agents fail to put those systems in place.
Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and I'm here talking about real estate and how you can get better in your business than you were yesterday. So, how do we do things better and better? It's a question I've been asking myself for years, and it's a question that I'm also asking a lot of our guests as they come on the show. And hopefully, you as a listener can gain some insight into some things I've learned to become better over the years, and then also from some of our guests that we have on the show as well. Because I believe that that learning is there's always something to learn, and that's actually one thing I love about this business is there's always something to learn, there's always something to do, and that keeps changing and evolving. And to me, it makes it exciting. So without further ado, we've got a great guest for you guys today. Today I've got Raegan Trimmer from a local office here, also in the Madison area, and she's a leader there at her firm, and so yeah, I'm excited to kind of see where this goes. And before we dive too much into the content, I know because one of the topics actually we had talked about before jumping on was maybe what do we want to talk about today? Well, one of the things is how to kind of scale high production, but also maintain a sustainable life. So we'll dive into that in a minute. But without further ado, Raegan, why don't you share with our listeners a little bit more about yourself and what led you to where we're at today and some of your background?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. So my name is Raegan Trimmer. I'm one of the broker owners at Remax Preferred in Madison. I've been a licensed agent since 2018. So besides the brokerage side, I'm still a producing agent. I was also kind of your standard Midwest small town kid who couldn't wait to get the heck out of this place after college. So
Oh yeah, where did you go?
I went to college at UW La Crosse.
Okay.
And then packed up my bags and moved to Southern California in 2013.
Okay.
So moved out
Like,
and traded my snow boots for some flip flops, which was a wonderful choice.
yep.
And I helped grow and operate a real estate coaching and training company. We really focused on coaching and training agents on the operational side of the business, under the assumption of, right, like, how to sell real estate. What you don't know how to do is run a business. And so we
Right.
get all these agents who had a high level of production, or they maybe capped their production and couldn't figure out how to get to the next level. And they were spinning their wheels and going crazy. So
Yeah.
that's what our coaching and training company focused on. I was out there for about 5 years and then had the opportunity to move back in 2018. I'm a second generation broker owner. So my mom has been in the business for quite a few years, and had an opportunity to move home and help her expand her office footprint. And here we are 7 years later, which is crazy, almost 8,
Yeah.
and couldn't imagine doing anything else. So I've
Yeah.
got a lot of experience from different angles, from the training and
Yeah.
mentoring side. I've been an independent agent, I've been on the team, and I'm now running a brokerage and helping other agents build their businesses. So
a conversation with me, then go to a betterrealestateexperience.com. You can go there and schedule a free one-on-one call with me, no obligation, and we'll just talk about your real estate business and what we can do to help you grow. Or you can also sign up to join us on one of our future mastermind calls. So again, go to betterrealestateexperience.com. Hope you're enjoying the show. Yeah, I think you bring an interesting perspective because it's not one maybe we hear a whole lot about, right? Like a lot of my guests are more, I'd say, in the trenches, right? They're actively selling and buying and day in and day out, and not as much kind of on the broker owners type of side, which is a different kind of hat to wear, so to speak, right? You're having different types of conversations, and certainly things like training and coaching and operations, right? Those are certainly a different skill set probably than, skills you need to develop to help advise buyers and sellers and that type of thing, right? Am I right on that? I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of
no,
my impression.
yeah, you're spot on. It's kind of a two-headed beast. Sometimes I tell a lot of the agents that I have conversations with, most of the time I'm preaching to myself,
Yeah.
because I know what it's like to be in the trenches and be the one there out on
Yeah.
the streets helping buyers and sellers, and also kind of being able to get the perspective from taking a step back and saying, hey, this is what I've seen work really well. Not
Yeah.
only my own business, but could work in yours. And I've seen, it work in a lot of other places as well.
Yeah, what's coming to mind for me is like I think I've noticed this for sure in my business and just as an agent, as an operator, right? Like I'm still putting together materials to help find buyers and sellers, help them promote what we're going to do, what's our materials, and then what's our flow, what's our process, how do we execute on that? And I think the more I've like sat back and kind of spent some time even developing that process, like okay, in my mind, what's an ideal process, right? For if I'm going to list a house, I could put it on the market tomorrow, or I could wait a couple weeks, or I could do something else, or what do we want to do to stage it or prepare it or paint it or clean it or whatever, right? But like, I think when I've sat down and really formulated a better plan, it's amazing how much more everybody kind of breathes a little bit easier, right? Things just happen a little bit smoother, a little bit better. And that's been my experience anyway. So I know how important some of those operational fundamentals can be. And that sometimes maybe we just overlook it as an agent, right? Like, I just need more deals. I need to make more phone calls. I need to reach out to more people. I need to do more open houses. I need to do. But sometimes if you think about, okay, what's the role of the operations and the systems and the templates, right? Like, I mean, we have templates for just about anything, and they're always moving and changing and adding and all this stuff. Like, it's nothing in my mind is really set in stone, but like, how much more can we, streamline that? I think has been, really made our operation much smoother, which in turn kind of makes those appointments go much smoother, I think, as well.
Yeah, you touched on a couple good things there. And this might be a bit of an unpopular opinion for our listener base here, but real estate is not difficult. It's not hard. It's serving clients with a high level of professionalism, expertise, ethics. It's not difficult, but agents make it so much harder than it has to be because they fail to put those systems in place. And so you can go on 100 listing appointments a year, and
Hmm.
before every single one, the night before, you're scrambling going, crap, how do I do this again? What do I need to bring? What do I need to prepare? And that's why the burnout in this industry is so real, because agents fail to put those systems in place. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the misconceptions of being successful in real estate is, if I want to get to a high level of production, or if I want to make a lot of money, I have to give up everything else. I have to give up time with my family and being able to go see my kids play basketball, or my sanity,
Yeah.
because making a lot of money and being successful in real estate means you have to work 24/7. And
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely not true. And there's
Yeah.
a way better way to be successful in this industry. And it comes down to putting those systems in place and
Yeah.
identifying what are the repeatable processes that I do over and over and over again. And to
Yep.
your point, it's not one thing you could do one time, right? You always have to be,
Hmm.
changing them up and figuring out what works, and making them better as you go. But it doesn't mean you have to do it constantly, right? Put the
Hmm.
systems in place, commit yourself to doing them at a really high level, and allow them to work for you.
Hmm.
And it's that whole, right, like, work smarter, not harder. I know agents, there's an agent I know in Florida, and he does 150 million in volume a year. And
Wow.
he works Tuesday to Friday, 8 to 5. That's it. And people go,
Yeah.
that's not possible. And it is possible because he has boundaries, he sets expectations, and he's put the systems in place to allow himself to work his business on his own terms,
Yeah.
instead of what the majority of agents do, who go, I need to go get my next commission check. I've got to go get my next deal, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And
Yeah.
so they're chasing the industry instead of the industry feeding the business that they've built for themselves.
Yeah, so let's go a little deeper on that because I've been guilty of working 7 days a week. I've been
We
guilty of
we all
not
have.
always showing up for my wife how she would prefer me to show up, not always being there for as much for my kids as much as maybe they prefer. I'm at a different place now than I was 5, 10 years ago. But if I were to rewind the clock a little bit, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There was times in my career for sure I was working 7 days a week, right? I mean, I was there full on. And so how maybe we could spend some time and I can share a little bit on my story to start before you share. But if, to me, I think I made that shift. I was able to make that shift the moment I started to both develop those systems, like you mentioned, but also shift some things off of my plate. So if you're an agent out there and you are still doing everything soup to nuts for your clients, right? entering listings, putting the sign in the yard, delivering stuff, or managing the transaction once it's under contract, doing all of the marketing, doing everything, I think that's a recipe for burnout. And I think because I've experienced it, and I know that the moment I was able to leverage even a little bit, whether it was helping get a transaction coordinator to help on a per transaction basis, or even, hiring another administrative assistant, whether it's part-time or full-time. I don't, if you have nobody, you better hire somebody, because otherwise it is all on you. And customers want to be serviced. And if you want that opportunity, you want that deal to happen, something's got to happen. So if it's not you, who is it, what is it, and who needs to be put into place maybe to help you execute at that higher level. So that was, for me, that was what immediately propelled my business probably 50% when I first hired my first full-time assistant. So my business grew 50% that year, and it more than paid for the assistant. So that would be probably my suggestion from my standpoint when I did feel that level of burnout. So I don't know, what about you? What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, right? I think agents think more income equals I've got to work more hours. But I think the shift that you made is I want to make more income, so I need more systems or I need more leverage points. And I think if you could look at your own business and say, God, what part of this do I really hate doing?
Mm-hmm.
Those are your bottlenecks, right? For me, I'm not great at paperwork. And so I got a transaction manager. And when I get a property under contract, everything goes over to her. The dates and deadlines are beautifully executed. And it's freed me up to go do more deals.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I have to pay for my transaction coordinator, but it is peanuts compared to the time that I get back in my schedule and the ability to go find more deals. And so
Yeah.
start looking at the pieces of what am I not good at? What do I not like doing? What is a repetitive task that happens in every single real estate transaction, every buyer appointment, every listing appointment, coming to the office, right? What does that look like? Everything that you repeat over and over again. If you can systemize it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're living in a beautiful age of AI and digital automations at this point, that set these things up once and allow them to work on your behalf so that these repetitive administrative tasks that you have to do because it's part of the job can be done for you, whether that's through automation or hiring an assistant or hiring a transaction manager, so that you can focus on what you're good at, which is selling real estate. It's all part of being a business owner, right? As a real estate agent, you own your own business
Mm-hmm.
and you have to do these things because that's how businesses work. But leverage your best skill set to go make more money and offload or delegate everything else. And that's how you can sell more real estate, make more money, do it all in less time, have more fun doing it, and still be home for dinner by 5 p.m.
Totally. I think, you said something right there that kind of made me think too, is like, yeah, you're a business owner. Like at the end of the day, there does need to be a business owner that's kind of moving this thing forward, right? That's kind of guiding the ship. But also, I think knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, right? Maybe your strength isn't finding the next deal or negotiating the next deal, right? Maybe it is even on the administrative side, right? Like
Mhm.
it's okay. Maybe you get into real estate thinking you're going to get freedom, flexibility, and sell all these houses. But if you don't like to lead generate, follow up with leads, and negotiate deals, you're gonna have a hard time. Like that's a big part of what your skill set is needed as a rainmaker, lead generator, team leader type of thing, right? You got to go out there and find it and make it happen. And so, if that's maybe not your skill set, maybe you do want to be more behind the scenes and on the administrative side. And that's okay too, right? Everybody's contribution matters and yours can too. And I think knowing yourself and knowing your skill set and maybe where you can add the most value is going to make you, yeah, help with the burnout, right? It'll help you maintain a better quality of life for sure. So I love that.
Yeah. And I think there's so many different personality types in this industry, and that's what makes this awesome. And you could be an agent who's really good at the data and the analytical side of things and doing the contracts and negotiating, but you're terrible at social media. But you need to do it, right? Like, cool, let's outsource that. Let's find a marketing team that can help me put together a really sexy looking listing presentation or can post on my Facebook a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tool, a system, or a leverage point for anything you need in this business. And so take a hard look in the mirror and don't pretend like you're perfect because none of us are.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute you can make that switch of it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to not be great at one part of this business is the day that you can be better at what you actually are good at. And I think that's what the hump that so many agents need to get over is they get stuck in this churn and burn cycle of I've just got to chase the next commission, I've just got to pay my bills, and I've just got to keep going. And all of a sudden they might be making a lot of money, but they're also kind of miserable and they're tired and they're burned out
Mhm.
because they didn't take the time to put the right systems in place.
All right, well, let's take that a little level deeper too, right? Like, let's give what are some actual tools, right? Like, what are you actually seeing or hearing about or using that maybe whether it's AI or some other tools or systems or things like that? What are you noticing are some of the common things that really move the needle in your opinion? And maybe I'll be the guinea pig and go first again. I mean, I am a big fan of actually just keeping it simple, and we use a lot of basic Google Sheets, spreadsheets for our checklists. And as simple as it is, it's a checklist that we created based on what we want to do. And it's very simple. And if people can fly airplanes with a checklist, people can sell real estate with a checklist. Okay. And
Yep.
so that's my system. That's what I use. But it's also, I'm not wondering what it is, but I've taken the time to build what it is I want to do. What is it that how do I want it to look like? What does my customer service look like? And so it takes some time to maybe lay it all out, but it's a pretty simple system in my opinion. So that's one of the things I use, and we just lean on it regularly.
Yeah. I love that you started with that because I was going to start with the disclaimer that there are 1,000 tools and platforms and pieces of tech out there. And if you've been to any sort of real estate conference, you can get $20 a month to death in this industry. And there's so
$20.
many agents
I looked at a
or
platform for, just managing the transaction, and it's like a couple hundred a month. I'm like, geez, I can handle
yeah.
that.
And then you sign up for it. You're like, oh, this is going to be the thing that changes my business. And that next thing
Yeah.
you know, right, you're auditing your taxes at the end of the year and you're paying how much for this? I logged in twice.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to not over systemize yourself.
Sure.
And they say, right, like the best CRM is the one that you're actually going to use.
Yeah.
And so whether it's one you seek out for yourself or that your brokerage provides, I think, again, to your point, right, start simple.
Yep.
Figure out where is this gap in my business and how can I fill it? And what is the best tool to do that? And fill one gap at a time. Don't try to fill 10 at a time. Because then you're just drowning in systems and technology and subscriptions. And all of a sudden, these things that are supposed to be helping you are
Mhm.
just additional points of stress.
Yeah.
And so I think, right, like a really good CRM, you've got to have your people in a centralized database so you can communicate with them. It's a people business, it's a relationship business. Again, there's a lot of automation you can build into the back of most
Mhm.
CRMs on following up or even remembering, hey, this is their home anniversary, this is
Totally.
their birthday. Easy touch points that have nothing to do with real estate that you can reach out and stay in contact with your people. And so I think, right, like you've got to have a good database. Every single business has one. I don't care what industry you're in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Isn't that funny? It doesn't matter the industry. I remember the well, I don't know if you heard about the story of Target and this was years ago, but they were in the news for they would send out coupons to their customer base or whatever in the mail, and they would send them out. And so they got so good at their predictive analytics of that they started sending these Target coupons to this household for like baby formula and diapers and all this thing. And like the husband called up or the dad calls up all mad. He's like, "Why are you sending me all these coupons?" And it turns out he had a teenage daughter, and they knew somehow that she was pregnant, and turns out she was. And like there was this
yeah,
big hurrah. Like, so it doesn't matter the industry, right? That CRM, the database, the data, the information you collect about your people, about your clients, your customers, your friends, your family, all those things is super important. And so, but ultimately it's really and that's obviously going a little too far, but I think the message is if you want to provide value to your people, like you need a systematic way to just stay in touch and continue to provide that value, whatever that looks like. So whether that's a home value report, home selling in their neighborhood, things going on in the area, events, whatever it looks like. I think there's a lot of different things you could do, but at the end of the day, those are some of the key things that I think need to maybe be in there. And then yeah, it's just staying in touch and building that relationship because it is really a simple business, right? You call, you stay in touch, you follow up, and then you
yeah.
earn the right.
And I think too, like on the data and the insights side of that too, right? Like the stat used to be, right, the average American moves every 8 years. Well, if you don't have your people in a database
Do you know what
and
it
you
is
don't,
now?
it's like 5.5.
No, it's 11.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. We were just reviewing this at our latest team meeting. That yeah, NAR stat for or they put together their profile of home buyers and sellers, and it's now yeah, I think the average is 11 years.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's good to know. But too, right? Like I think there are different market trends you can track, right? We had
yeah,
an influx of pandemic buyers who bought at really low rates or maybe overpaid for a house. Knowing where your clients were in the position when they bought or sold a home can help identify touch points in the future. And if you're not tracking them in a certain place, again, you can make this business stupid simple if you know who to talk to and when to talk to them to
mhm,
convert more deals in real estate. If you're out there guessing and throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping something sticks, that's what's hard. But again, work smarter, not harder, and this business becomes right. The sky's the limit on how much you want to earn or what you want to achieve.
All right, all right. Well, let's go even higher. So, sky's the limit. I want to be like that guy in Florida and work 4 days a week for 150 million. How do I do that, Reagan? I
Yeah.
mean, is that how is that even possible? Let's expand our mind of possibility. How does that work? What does that look like?
I'm trying to decide which rabbit hole I want to go down right now. But we'll start with the first one too, right? Like I think again, this business can take 100% control of you and your life if you let it.
Yeah.
Or you can flip that and go, hey, I'm actually going to build a business in a way that works for me and for my family and for the goals that I've set out. And you can set boundaries and you can set expectations. And a lot of that is really hard and it requires not saying yes to everything. The hardest part of this industry is you have to be on 24/7. I have to answer that phone call at 11 o'clock at night because if I don't get that deal, then I'm never going to get another deal in this industry. Right? I've got to write that offer as my plane is taking off for spring break with my kids.
Yeah.
If you can flip that and take control of your business and say, this is how I operate, it it's a little unconventional. And I think most agents go, I could never do that because I'd be out of business in 6 months. But it actually creates a little bit of an exclusivity. People will go, wow, Josh is really selective about the people he works with. That must mean he's really good.
Yeah.
He's not out there saying yes to every Joe Schmo buyer and seller. I
Yeah.
want to work with the best person to sell my house. And if that means I can only talk to Josh Tuesday to Friday, so be it. But I know he's going to serve me at a really high level and he's going to get the job done because
Yeah.
that's the expectation you've set for your clients and the people who want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And by saying no to the opportunities that don't fit what you've set out for your business, it allows you to say yes to so many more opportunities that do fit. And
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden you've constructed this business that is supporting your life and funding your life, but is absolutely not controlling it.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I think that's some interesting points for sure, right? It's not saying yes to everything, but knowing how you're going to operate, right? What are you saying yes to? And I think what phrase or words kind of come to mind for me is to really think about what business are you building? Like in the end, if you look in the future, 3, 5, 10 years, what do you want it to look like? What's the ideal target you're shooting for? And I know, maybe, and if just maybe your goal is to just be a solo agent. And if you have an administrative helper, one or two assistants or something that help you leverage or put into pieces that you sell and you make whatever you make per year and you're happy with that amount, like maybe that's what you want to build. Or maybe you want to build a larger group or organization or team. Not everybody should, by the way, because you and I both probably know there's lots of teams, mega teams, probably that you know of that maybe aren't as profitable as they could be because they're always buying the next latest leverage tool and lead gen thing and magnet and whatever. So just because they're larger and bigger doesn't always mean more profitability. And what trade-offs are you willing to make in order to get to whatever level you're looking at? So I think being intentional about the business you're building, at least that's what came to mind as you were kind of talking through this, right? Because yeah, if and then I think it can be crystal clear, right? If I know what business I'm building, then it's easy to say yes to this or no to that. So
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that you made a couple good points there. I've talked to agents that make $1 million a year in commissions and they file bankruptcy the next month because they're
wow.
spending 999,000 of it.
Yeah.
And I've talked to agents that are making 50 grand a year and they're happy as can be because that's what fits their life and that's what their goal was.
Hmm.
And so when I did some business planning this last year, I laugh because if you go ask an agent, hey, how much money do you want to make in real estate?
Hmm.
They say $100,000.
Yeah.
And I go,
Right. The
great.
default answer, I want to make six
Yep.
figures. Yeah.
Yep. If I would have asked an agent 20 years ago, hey, how much money do you want to make in real estate? They still would have said $100,000.
$100,000. Yeah.
But you and I know prices in the year 2000 compared to 2026 are
Yep.
exponentially different. And
Yep.
so, but agents are still stuck in that mindset of, oh, I just want to go make 100,000 because that sounds like a great number.
Yeah.
$100,000 in 2000 bought you a heck of a lot more than it does now
Right.
in 2026. And so, as we were doing some business planning, I sat down and I said, okay, here's how much money it costs me to live every single month.
Yeah.
Here's how much money I want to save in my retirement accounts. Here's how much money I have to put aside for taxes, which is another point I won't get down, but here's how much money I want to put towards a vacation or buying a new car, or whatever that looks like for you. And then broke it down by here's my average sales point, here's my average commission, and calculated, okay, I need to go do 17 deals this year.
Yeah.
It's going to equate to 150,000. Had I just picked that number out of a hat, right? There's no passion or purpose behind it. But
Yeah.
if you can sit down and say, this is what I want my life to look like, and I'm going to build this life by running a really successful real estate business. Now I know, okay, I need to go say yes to 17 opportunities a year. I don't need to say yes to 50. I don't need to pay Zillow $10,000 a month for a bunch of junk internet leads.
Mhm.
All I need to do is go find 17 people that I want to work with on my terms. And that's going to allow me to live the life that I've just told myself I want to live.
Yeah. And I think what I love that you did here is it's not an arbitrary number, it's a real number and you're connected to it and it's connected to your actual expenses for the actual life that you need and want to live. And that's what it should be because if your number, whatever that number is, whether it's 17 or 1700, I don't care. It doesn't matter, but if it's not real, if you're just putting this moonshot number out there that doesn't connect you on a day-to-day basis to your activities because ultimately that's what it does boil down to. What activities are you going to focus on to help get you to that number? It doesn't matter as much. So I think it's really important too to look at what's your real number, what are your personal expenses, and maybe have right even two or three options. Right, this is my absolute bare minimum I'm going to make. This would be life is pretty good, and then this would be the moonshot, and should put the moonshot out there, and it doesn't hurt to shoot a little higher, and it's okay. But I think finding that emotional connection to your numbers. Actually, I was just sharing, our team does vision boards every year. I don't know if you guys do this, but
Yeah.
I just created my vision board. So I got a lot of mountains on here because I like the mountains when I'm not in the Midwest. And so that's what I like to do and spend it with my family and friends and that kind of thing. So I think if you can do something like that or something similar, right? What's emotionally going to motivate you to say, yeah, this number's real. I'm excited about this business and this is what I'm going to do to make it happen. To me, that's the way to go.
Yeah, it's huge. It's such a mindset shift. And I walked through this exercise with a few different agents as well. And every single time they were shocked by the actual number that they got.
Hmm.
And it took away that fear of where's my next closing going to come from? Where's my next check going to come from? Because they couldn't conceptualize holistically what they were even trying to achieve over the course of the year. But when we broke it down into, okay, you need to do 20 deals this year, they go, oh, that's it? I can do 20. I know how to close 20 transactions a year. I've got to close, right, 5 a quarter, which means I need to go on X amount of buyer appointments, X amount of listing appointments.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can break down your daily, weekly, monthly, activities to go get those 20 a year. You have a full plan in front of you of, I am totally bought into these 20 deals because I know that that's going to fund the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
If I don't do it right, I'm the only one to blame. It's not the
Yeah.
market. It's not people not answering your phone calls. It's you not putting in the work. But once you can shift your mindset into, I'm in control of this business. I know exactly what I'm here to do. I'm going to go serve the 20 people that I want to serve on my terms. Let's go do it. It becomes so much easier and so much more fun than just hoping you're sitting at the office and your phone rings and somebody wants to work with you. Right? Because that's when you're working at 11 o'clock.
We need to make it ring. We got to call some people.
Yeah. That's part of the process too, but I don't know if we have enough time to get into the whole.
No, that is part of the process, right? Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. Well, yeah, I don't know. We've touched on a lot of different things. Anything Yeah. What else comes to mind for you that you think our listeners might find interesting for us to explore a little further?
Hmm.
We talked about systems. We talked about scaling. We talked about burnout.
We did talk about
Um,
burnout.
yeah.
I think,
Uh,
just kind of to summarize, whether you're looking at systems or tech
Yeah.
or whatever brokerage you're with, what they provide, I think if you can ask yourself a question of how will this help me sell more real estate in less time? If the answer is yes, go for it. If
Mhm.
it's not, get rid of it. And take a hard look at your business right now. And there might be a lot of things that you've invested a lot of time or money or blood, sweat, and tears into that you're going to just keep pounding on because you put so much effort into them, but they're not working. Like, I think the other,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. It's coming to mind. I saw this quote from Elon Musk recently that sort of encapsulate that same mindset, right? It's because one of the things that he does in his companies is just simplify and strips away all the things and says, what are we engineering that we shouldn't be engineering? Like, stop engineering all this stuff. Like, we need to simplify and streamline and make it simple. And I've had to do this too, and I'm guilty, right? Like, I got the big long checklist, and like, oh, it's 225 things. It's like, holy cow, 225. That's a lot. Maybe I don't need that many. Maybe I need, what are the top 10, or how do I break it down in a way that is chunkable? But I think, it's looking at things also just in a holistic way, right? Are we over engineering it? Keep it simple, right? Whether it's 50, 17 or 20 deals a year, or however many it is for you that your target is, right? It doesn't need, if you can think backwards, you're a business owner at the end of the day. Implement tools, right? I think it's changing every business. We already know that, right? Chat GPT, even our customers. Oh my God, I had a deal the other day. The buyer said we were negotiating over a post occupancy charge for a seller, right? They weren't going to be able to be out of there in time, so they needed like an extra week or two or something to stay in the home. And so we're negotiating a post occupancy, and how much is a reasonable amount for that charge? And I'm like, well, maybe $100 a day, or whatever it is. You can go stay at a hotel for close to that. And they're like, well, no, Chat GPT says it should be 500 a day. And I'm like, whoa. So, so now,
yeah, I
we,
think
we got
until
to
this
deal with
whole,
real numbers, and then we got to deal with Chat GPT, and then we need to verify and test it. And so, but it's our customers are using it. Okay.
yeah,
So you guys,
ChatGPT is quickly becoming like the buyer's bad uncle.
yeah, it is. It's the buyer's bad uncle. It's funny you mentioned that. Yeah. Like that, if they don't know, they might ask their uncle, but they might ask Chat GPT, and
Yeah,
you better be on
you
that
better
too.
have the answer.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And I think, and in some ways, maybe for some of the things that maybe you don't have a good understanding of, like, actually, I'd used this recently for an inspection I had, and it was around some like roofing and gutters, and I wasn't exactly sure like how it should have been or whatever. And so, I used it for doing just a bunch of research there. And so I found it to be just real helpful in that regard. So, it doesn't need to be um I don't know. I'm hesitant to over rely on it, but I think that it is a tool that, is available, and, can be powerful. So that's for sure.
Yeah,
So
I think like any tool, right? There's handfuls of different AI tools out there right now. Don't try to
yeah.
use them all, right?
Yeah.
Use the ones that work for you. I use Claude, which is similar to ChatGPT but built more for business.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I use that is kind of blown my mind, but it's called Whisper Flow, and it's
Oh,
on my computer, and it's basically talk to text, and
okay.
so I can dictate an email so much quicker than I can sit and type it.
Okay.
Or as I'm on Claude or ChatGPT trying to sort through something, right? I can turn on Whisper, and all of a sudden it's just typing what I'm dictating. And I
Hmm.
can talk so much quicker than I can type. And so it's little things like that. Yeah, it might only save me a minute here or there, but compounded over the course of a week or a month or a year, it's
Hmm.
saving me hours of time here and there. And it's right time that I can go do whatever else I want instead of, pecking at my keyboard. And
Yeah.
so we use a lot of AI, but I
Sure.
only use a small section of it because it's what works for me. Um,
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's
and
interesting too. I know one thing we've started using as well, or I've used it a lot more and found it to be just helpful just with my own team dialogues and interaction is just instead of always texting, but we're just doing voice texts, right? Like you're
Yep.
recording, you're saying something, and they can listen to it at their own time, right? But you can give a lot more explanation, like here's what I think you need to consider, and consider this and this and this, whatever it might be. But sort of giving that sort of advice in a way that they can consume on their own time, and also is a little bit easier and faster to put together than if I were to type out a big long email or type out a big long text. It's like, oh, that could take quite a while. But just even the voice texting, to me, even that one's been really helpful.
Yeah, and last one, a system I'll plug here is an AI tool called Otter,
Otter, okay.
OTTER. But it's a, I think I saw you at Gemini turned on to this, but it's a
Sure.
meeting summary tool. But I use it when I walk into buyer consultations or listing presentations, and I turn it on my phone. They don't even know it's there. It doesn't record the conversation verbatim, but at the end of the meeting, right when I stop my Otter transcript, it gives me a whole summary of everything that was talked about.
Yeah.
And I'll go back and reference that and I'll go, oh, I did say, right, I had to get this deliverable to them. I did need to get them an additional market report, or they had asked what that house down the street sold for. Let me get that to them, right? It's those little things that when I look back at the summary, remind me, oh, go do these things that could have been lost, right? If I forgot to write it down or just forgot it after I left the meeting. And so that one's really helpful too, to just help summarize, what was discussed, what are the next steps, what are the deliverables needed, and then you can go execute on them instead of, right, like sorting through papers all day trying to figure out where you wrote down that chicken scratch and what you needed to do next. But
Hmm.
again, just helping you run a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's cool. That's, these little tweaks can make a big difference, right? And they do compound and everything adds up. I mean, even, spending that a few minutes to put stuff together ahead of time and send it to the seller, like that'll save you not a ton of time, but it saves time. It'll whatever.
Yep.
Then you show up and they know a little bit more about you than they did the day before. So now you're not maybe spending as much time explaining your flip chart and PowerPoint presentation or Canva slides that says I'm going to do all these things. Right? Like if you can send them some of that stuff maybe ahead of time, chunk it down in a way that it's these subtle little things and they do compound and it does add up. So I love that as well.
Yep. Yeah, I think again, right, if it can help you sell more real estate in less time, it's worth doing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good tips to follow. I love that. Use the tools to help sell more real estate in less time. Figure out what kind of business you're building and don't get overwhelmed, right? If you're trying to do everything yourself, maybe you try to find those leverage points. I know we touched on that, right? The best CRM is the one you use, just make sure you're using it at the highest level, go a little deeper. There's automations. You can do all kinds of that. Think about your personal expenses, right? Keep that in mind when you're building out your target, right? And your pro forma of what business you're actually building, find out how many deals you do need to do to fund the life you want. And then, yeah, I mean, we touched on lots of different AI tools. Hopefully don't use them all at once. Don't use them all at once, but try one out and build from there. You don't need to do it all at once, but I think just doing one at a time and implement as you go. You learn it, you do it, and you get a little bit better. And that's what this podcast is all about. That's what I'm all about. So hopefully our listeners got some value out of that. So anything else you want to share before we kind of sign off for our show today?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just kind of wrap it all up by saying, right, like when the industry tells you it's either ambition and success or your sanity, don't listen to that, right? You can have a very successful real estate career and have a really valuable life that you're proud of. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. And if you put some of these things in place and use the tools and resources that are available to you, I'm confident you can have both. I've seen it work plenty of times. And so go build a great business, go be home for dinner, and enjoy doing both.
Absolutely. Success does not equal you have to lose your sanity, and put those boundaries on where they need to be. Focus on what's important, and it's absolutely possible. I agree with all of those things. So for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
well,
thanks for having
very
me.
cool. Yeah, thanks, Raegan. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing some insight with our listeners today, and a little more on your background. And yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation, and gave me some more things to kind of think about too, and even things that I want to try to changes I want to do in my business. Right? I mean, I know that even that personal expenses, right? Like I'm trying to make it more of a habit to kind of look at my own net worth on a monthly basis, because here's the other thing I learned is like, if I want my net worth to grow, I better start tracking it and looking at it, right? What is it for you? Whether it's your personal expenses or your net worth or your personal business, I don't care what it is if you track it and look at it more frequently, things tend to improve over time. So yeah, that's what I've noticed. But
I'll come back next time and we can talk about what you don't track and you don't measure, you can't improve on. That's my other favorite real estate topip.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out here flying blind, but.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Things they don't track, but want it hoping it improves. But since they don't track it, you don't really know if it'll improve.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Tracking is important, right? And what is it that you're wanting to measure and track and follow? So, no, I think that's a good insight, right? I think that's I heard somewhere years ago, right? Tony Robbins, when he's involved in a company, one of the very first things they do is like they implement a tracking system, right? What are we doing today? What's happening? And here's the metrics we want to look at. So figure out your key metrics and just start tracking it. You can do it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever it is. But if you don't know where you're going, it's kind of hard to get there.
Exactly.
I love it. Cool. Well, that's our show for today. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, taking some time to listen, and sharing more with Raegan and myself. And tune in next time to the Better Agent Podcast, and we'll have other similar conversations and helping you grow your real estate business. So again, I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and hope you got some value out of our episode today. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.